Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of VMTV Vaults with myself, Kyle Dimond, here on VMTV. My guest for this episode is Mr. Dilano Taylor, the postman himself. Dilano has had an incredible run in the PFL, from being an alternate to getting a spot in the main event in Cardiff against Rory McDonald and taking out a legend like the Rory the Red King in the first round. He now finds himself in the World Championships on the 25th of November, taking on Sadib Boussaï for the welterweight division. This interview was recorded a few weeks ago, so it was more towards the start of his camp, so we were talking about preparations and things like that. But without further ado, Mr. Dilano Taylor.
I suppose we should start by talking about something we were just saying then, with the fight still being 12 weeks away. Because your schedule, usually when I chat to someone from the PFL, I've got to talk about how crazy the schedule has been, fighting every few weeks. But yours is a totally different story to any of the other guys who are competing in the finals, because you've been an alternate, is it three times this year?
Three times.
Which is
All three
crazy.
fights to the finals, yeah.
So talk to me about that. Like, how crazy has your scheduling been for these fights?
Man, thank God I'm just like a person of just discipline and always training. Because if I wasn't, man, this whole ordeal would have been a lot worse, man. Because I feel like I got dealt really good cards. You know, like not really good cards in the sense where like I had the easiest fights or anything like that, but really good cards in the fact that like I just stayed so consistent with who I am as an individual and what I do on a daily basis. You know, like had anybody else been in my situation, they probably would have broke a lot sooner. But I just stayed really disciplined and focused and to it. That makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember one of the things you said right after the Rory fight was that you always believed it, but when you're an alternate three times and it still doesn't happen for you, where you get to be in the regular series, it'd be difficult for someone who isn't you, who has that self-belief, to look and be like, I think you're gonna do it, like
Yeah.
obviously you believe that in yourself,
Yeah.
which is incredible. But from the outside looking in, man, no one could have predicted this.
Nobody could have predicted it. It's like I came in like I was like the dark horse or the Trojan horse or whatever horse you want to call me. You know, nobody expected me to come out here and create this many upsets in the tournament. You know, like and make my way to the finals. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
I believe it. I had no doubt in my mind that I was gonna do it.
Yeah. I remember in many ways it was kind of the headline leaving the event, because I think it was probably the most interesting thing that you said after the fight, and obviously the big story after the event was you beating Rory. You saying that you're going to be a millionaire by 25, and that
I
it's
said
coming
that. I
true.
said that. I said my first fight. I said the first fight in PFL when I fought Zeffirino. I said millionaire by 25. I'm telling you, they didn't believe me, but we're here.
That's pretty crazy. So talk to me about, where were you when you got the call to say you were going to be fighting Rory in Cardiff? Because it was very, I think I don't know when you found out, but I think we only found out that his fight was off 2 days before, maybe.
That's when I found out.
Jesus. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, that's when I found out. Yeah, they only called me like a couple of weeks prior to ask me if I wanted to be alternate again after I had lost to Magomed. Magomed Karimov, the two-time PFL champion, the former two-time PFL champion. After I had lost to him, they were like, yeah, how about you, come in as an alternate again and we'll see how you go from there. I was like, all right, cool. Throughout PFL, they never wanted to give me a name of who I was going to fight. I never knew who I was going to fight the whole time. I ran through PFL, or I went, had those fights in PFL. The only fight I knew that I was going to have was when I fought on the Challenger Series. That was the only fight I knew I was going to have. The other fights were just like really short notice. I fought Magomed on 12 hours notice. I fought Zeffirino on a day's notice, and I fought Rory on 2 days notice. 2 days notice was probably the most time I had to prepare, because like I could actually watch film. I had enough time, but the other fights I didn't have enough time for anything. Like there was nothing that I could just change in my game plan. I kind of just had to go out there freestyling and just see how everything went.
That's so crazy that this whole year that you've had in the PFL, the most amount of time you've had to prepare for a fight is 2 days, and now you're sitting on 12 weeks until the final with $1 million on the line. Like, it's insane, man. It's absolutely crazy. When you got the call to say that you were going to be fighting in Cardiff, I assume you had to go straight to the airport after putting the phone down, right? Because I assume the other fights you took on very late notice were in the States, right?
Well, yeah, I took those fights in the States, but for Cardiff, remember, like I said, they told me a couple weeks prior that they wanted.
Oh, so were you going to be there anyway?
Yeah, I was going to be there anyways.
Okay,
I just
cool.
didn't know if I was fighting or who I was going to fight. The first time they told me for PFL that I would only have, it would probably be a 20% chance that I was fighting. They said this to me 2 times. And then I was like, bro, I'm not going to fall for this a 3rd time. Like, clearly I'm going to fight. I just don't know who I'm fighting, but I know I'm going to fight.
Yeah. that's 20% chance. It's very
chance,
funny.
Yeah.
No.
That's literally what I was told. I was told that twice.
I mean, it's crazy enough to get a fight on 2 days' notice in any kind of big promotion, let alone when that fight, if you win it, puts you in a fight to win $1 million, and when that fight is Rory McDonald on 2 days' notice. Like, it's already a bit of a crazy scenario, but these just added even more to the performance, that it's like suddenly you come in there, you get one fight, biggest name of your career on your record, and now you're one fight away from $1 million. Like, that isn't just a great late notice performance, which, like I said, is a headline in itself, man. But to go out there and beat Rory McDonald in the first round and then find yourselves in the finals is just insane. Did it? I remember your reaction right after. I suppose a lot of people were looking to see like how you reacted, whether you were like, "Oh, this all feels a bit weird," but you weren't. You were like, "Well, I knew this was coming, so I'm fine."
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Is that how you kind of felt about the whole thing? Because you'd already done the alternate thing, you kind of knew what to expect. Of course, it's a different spotlight being the main event against Rory, but it is the same kind of hand that you'd been dealt the last 2 fights also.
Yeah, it wasn't my first time being the main event in an organization. I fought for Titan FC twice in the main event for the belt. I fought and won it, and then I defended it, 2 5-round fights, and made both times main event. So like, it wasn't something that was like, oh wow, like, I'm the star of the show. Like, it wasn't a surprise to me. Not to mention, my self-belief is so up there. Like, it's almost like insane, the amount of self-belief I have in myself, that people would like think to myself, this guy's ridiculous. Like, this guy's crazy. Like, how high my self-belief is, that when I went out there, I really genuinely was not surprised that I beat Rory. I wasn't surprised that I was going to win the fight. That was actually the first thing I said after the fight in the cage. I'm not surprised, mother.
Of course. Another thing that that you spoke about right after the fight was always going to be about Rory and his career going forward. Did I just lose you? Didn't expect that. Okay.
Hello?
Hey man, you all
Sorry.
good? We all good, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. All right, yeah, no, don't worry about it. I'll just let it. No worries.
Okay.
So what I was saying about how Rory picking up a loss like that there was always going to be a big question put to you about what you think of this part of Rory's career after beating him. And I remember you basically said, without telling him that he should retire because that's his own decision, he's his own man, you were like, maybe he needs to start thinking about it. And then obviously I think the day after we get the announcement that Rory had retired. What was your reaction to that, I suppose? And did you, I'm sure that, it's a very obvious question and answer for me to say, did you think the fight would be that easy? And for you to say, no, I was prepared to go to a decision if needed. But did the fight surprise you at all? Because I know it was late notice and stuff like that, but Rory McDonald still carries such a huge name in the sport,
Um, like I said, I wasn't surprised that I would win the fight at all. I was never surprised that I won the fight. And I even said that, like, I don't know how I'm gonna win the fight, but I know I'm going to win the fight. Like, whether I finish him via knockout or submission or it goes to the decision. But like, I had no doubt in my mind that I would win the fight. Did it surprise me that he got knocked out? That I knocked him out? Hell yeah. I'm not gonna lie. I was surprised. I was a little bit surprised about that. I was actually when I threw the right hand and he fell, and he dropped for a split second. I don't know if you've seen the clip. For a split second in the clip, I freeze, and I was like, "Oh shit, is he fucking with me? Like, is he playing with me? Like, I thought he was just gonna like she's trying to like pull me into his guard." And I was like, "Nah, he can't be. Fuck it, charge at him." And I remember going for the finish, and I was like, "Okay, I guess he wasn't playing. I guess he was very seriously hurt." It was just like, wow, that part right there was very surreal for me. Like, wow, that wasn't like he was not playing around. Like, he wasn't trying to rope a dope me.
Mm.
That makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, I completely get you. I think that not just you, I think everyone that was in the arena kind of felt that freeze. That was like, wait, did that just happened, right? like
Yeah,
we
yeah,
didn't.
yeah,
He is actually been dropped, like you said. He isn't playing a game here or anything like that. Actually, just
yeah.
happened.
Like, I
Like
dropped him. Well,
it wasn't like, yeah, like the whole arena kind of froze. Obviously you were the main event, and so your opponent in the finals, Sadibu, fought a couple of fights before yourself. Were you able to watch any of it? I assume around that time it would have been when you were warming up to go out.
yeah, I
So
was warming up to go out, but I saw his fight. I saw that fight. It was a pretty good fight. It was an interesting fight. Um, I think Sai is a pretty good striker. Really good, really great distance management. Really good, really great cage wrestling. And takedown defense off the cage. I think that he's really good there. Um, I think it'll be an interesting fight. I think he's a tough guy, and I feel like I'll still go out there and walk out with my hands raised. One way or another, I'm gonna win the fight.
do you think, I know it's tough to compare because of the way that you beat Rory, but if you had the same amount of time to prepare for fighting Rory as you do for fighting Sai, do you think that Rory's a tougher matchup for you on paper? Just I remember you saying right after the fight when you were asked about the matchup with Sai, you were like, I think I remember you saying he does have like similar things to yourself in terms of his striking style. He uses his
Mm-hmm,
range
mm-hmm,
very well and stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
And so the matchup feels a lot more I don't want to say like for like because obviously you are not the same fighter as him, but it does feel like you have similar strengths in a way. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
Rory in a lot of ways is a very different fight compared to yourself or for Sai. But would you say it's tougher than the Sai matchup, the Rory one?
No, I wouldn't say Roy's fight is tougher. I would say Roy, his threat is in his experience
Hmm.
and his overall like his experience, toughness, and overall well-roundedness. Like, he's very well-rounded. Um, but I feel like the biggest drawback for Roy was that he is of the old era of MMA. That makes sense. Like, he evolved with the sport, but at the same time, he's still with the old era of MMA. Like the Randy Couture, the they call him the Iceman.
Oh,
I forget
Chuck.
his name. Chuck Liddell. Yes. The freaking Tito Ortiz's, like the old era of MMA. Like, I feel like that era has come and passed, and everybody now has evolved more and more into actual mixed martial artists. Like, don't get it twisted. Rory was like the OG of mixed martial arts. He's like one of the original versions of a true mixed martial artist. Like, he had no background, he had nothing. He jumped in the sport and learned everything simultaneously. But now, like, you're starting to see guys who are really like smarter in their approach with how they train and how they develop themselves. Like, you have guys who come in with like just one skill. Like, initially, like how back in the old day they came in with one skill, like one wrestler, or taekwondo or jujitsu, and then they really developed everything else around that.
Hmm.
And I feel like in this new era of MMA, you have guys who do that to a point, but they're so developed almost everywhere, and they've seen basically everything that there could be done in MMA just from watching the UFC over the past 10 years. You see like the evolution. It's so drastic. You can watch a UFC every week, and you can see the difference in changes and the difference in like how everybody's evolving at a faster and faster rate. People are like throwing
Hmm.
new things. all the time. Connor showed a shoulder strike one time, and now it's an official strike that people throw, and it's also an official strike that they count on strike counts. Like, it's crazy. Freaking everybody knew about toe stomps. Kamaru Usman uses it in one fight for a whole fight against Masvidal. Now everybody's like, oh, I got a toe stomp too. I got to use toe stomps. I can't forget about toe stomps. You know, like that counts as strike counts. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. I get what you mean as well about Rory. I remember you said that also about how if you look at where you're at, I can't remember the exact numbers that you said, but they were incredibly spot on to the point where I was like, okay, you did some digging about where you are in your career compared to where Rory was when he fought Robbie Lawler for the
when
belt.
he fought Robbie Lawler. When he fought Robbie Lawler, he was 25. When I fought Rory McDonald, I was 25. Oh, I am 25. I'm sorry. Not was. I am 25.
I get what you mean.
His record was 18-2. My record was 9-2 when I fought him. 9-2. So basically, I had half of his record, except, you know, without the loss being exactly half. But I had half of his record. And to date, that was at that time, to date, that was his biggest fight. And to date, that was my biggest fight. So I felt like it was like the passing of the torch. I felt like it was me having my opportunity the same way he had his opportunity with Robbie for the second time, and me actually going out there and proving, you know, to myself, not just to the people, but to myself, that this is really like him giving me my chance, my shot to shine, you know, my opportunity. And that's really how I saw that fight was when they offered me the opportunity to go fight him. I was like, okay, cool. Perfect. This is my time to really shine and my time to really show people what I can do and showcase my skill and really tell people who the postman is, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it felt like everything clicked right into place. Like even after all the alternate stuff and that all happening, this felt like finally, you know, all of that stuff of saying yes and taking these fights so you didn't even know who the opponent was and stuff like that. It all paid off. And I mean, from your perspective, obviously incredible. You were one fight away from $1 million. From the PFL's perspective as well, it's been an absolute home run having you step in to these fights, because what a story it will be if you go out and do it, to go in there and take out Rory McDonald and then win the final and win $1 million like that. That's what the PFL, you know, really wants at the end of the day. They want these stories that capture people's attention and get them on board, and they can find people like yourself who they can follow throughout seasons and things like that. So it seems like it's been a home run across the board, man. So I'm just buzzing for you and buzzing for the final, and we've still got a long way to go. So I feel it's a little bit pointless asking how you're feeling about it when you're so far away in many ways. But
yeah,
I mean, I say you're so far away. You are 12 weeks away from potentially becoming a millionaire. So it's not that far, is it, to wait?
No, not that far.
But how are you feeling about it this far out, man?
I feel the same way I felt about any fight that I've ever had. You know, but I don't feel like the nerves right now. Like the nerves aren't you know, eating at me just yet. I just feel like the focus, like everything's starting to, you know, like that tunnel. I feel like everything coming together and me devising how I'll go about this fight. I feel like my run in PFL, nobody has seen me yet prepare for a fight. Nobody has seen me prepare for a specific individual for a fight. And I feel like this would be my opportunity to really showcase what I can do when I prepare for a fight, when I prepare for somebody that I have to fight. And once I go out there and I showcase that and I show people not even people, when I show myself, when I prove to myself, because, you know, people are going to watch, but I'm mainly going out there for this. I'm mainly doing this and going out there for myself, you know? So I think this will be the very first time people will, as well as myself, will get to see. So I'm actually pretty excited about that, you know, just trying to keep my nerves calm and keep everything down until I'm ready to use them, you know?
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you for your time, man. Like I said, buzzing for the finals. It's gonna be so good. I've kept you going quite a while, a lot longer than I thought, but so I hope that's all right.
Thank you for checking out this episode of VMTV Vaults. Myself, Kyle Dimond, and my guest. We are all gearing towards the PFL 2022 World Championships on the 25th of November. That is happening in Madison Square Garden, if you don't know already. Hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode of Vaults, and be sure to keep an eye on everything that we're doing over here and building up towards the PFL World Championships. It's going to be a good one.